Kyle Dodds, what a great kid. He was full of joy. He was hysterically funny. Snappy blue eyes, blonde hair, freckles across the nose, a beautiful child that people would stop me and say, that's a beautiful child. About 8 years old, he found what would become one of the biggest loves of his life, and that was football. And he had a work ethic and a fierceness to him that if there was a way for him to throw the football, catch it, and run into the end zone while blocking everyone, he would have done that. So that intensity with how he played would eventually factor into his overdose. In a particularly violent game, it tore the labrum off of both of his shoulders. So around Thanksgiving, the first surgery, the introduction of Oxycontin, hydrocodone. So from the first pill, he was euphoric. But we began to notice things in Kyle that's just a little shift in his personality, but remember, he was rehabbing and keeping his act together at that time because of this love of football and his dream of playing further. He was expecting a major D1 scholarship and didn't get it. That was not his goal, and that was not acceptable to him. So after football season, we began to see things that we didn't recognize because we are not addicts, and this was not our world. And had we been, we would have seen it sooner. And his grades were slipping, and his motivation was slipping, and then the first DUI. When the toxicology came back for the DUI arrest, it was everything you can imagine, from opioids, ecstasy. While dealing with the first DUI, he got a second one, and then he wrecked his car. We judged Kyle as if he had control over this, which he didn't. It's a disease. I looked at it as a moral choice, a flawed character. I didn't know. Kyle's brain seized drugs as his only coping mechanism, which is very common, but for him it was just so intense because that's his personality. So it was in and out of rehabs. He had hope. We all had hope that this was it, and then he would go off to college and have a wonderful, great life. But that's not how it was going to end. We spent a lot of time that last month. It was as if he was preparing us. He and I stayed up all night, talked to me about the people on the streets. He talked to me about the hard lives that they have, how their lives are not like ours. He was in that hood a lot because he was buying drugs here, and he got close to people there, and he sat and he talked to people. He had a very compassionate heart for those struggling. And he taught me, and I'm so thankful to my son for the lessons that he has taught me, not to judge people that have it really hard, and especially people in addiction. And it's a daily battle because sometimes you do want to just step over and walk away, or you can take that moment and look them in the eyes, and the blessing that you give them and they give you is amazing. The day before was a Sunday, but he was agitated because Jose Fernandez, the Miami Marlins pitcher, had died. And Kyle and Jose Fernandez shared some things, close in age. They looked alike. They both played with the same intensity. But what Kyle didn't know is that what would factor into Jose Fernandez's boating accident is that he was high on cocaine and alcohol. They had more in common than Kyle realized, but this death really shook him. And he had begun to drink. Once Kyle Dodds had a beer or smoked a joint, the wheels came off. His body would go into full seeking mode. Somehow he got a shower in the morning, fresh clothes. He had had a clean haircut, a brand new Camaro he was driving and paying for, and working to finish his college education. He started out anew, but he knew he needed something to get him up for work that day. And he bought what he thought was cocaine. And in the cocaine we later found out in the toxicology was fentanyl, heroin, and the one that killed him, carfentanil. And from my estimate, he probably had bought the drugs about $6.50, probably snorted them as he was crossing the street and was down and gone by 7 a.m. At about 7 o'clock in the morning, they found him, and a woman across the street in the projects came and stayed with him and protected him until the paramedics and first responders could get there. I'm coming home from work. The police came and they said, "Cindy, this time we're here for you." That even though you know that this is a possibility every minute of every day, when it happens, it's devastating. It's still devastating. It will be devastating till the day I take my last breath, until I see him again.
A South Florida mother seeking justice this evening for her son's death, who died from an overdose.
She helped push for a new way to prosecute drug dealers when there's an overdose.
Since his death, she pushed for a new bill that got passed last year, a bill she calls Kyle's Law. It allows prosecutors to file murder charges against drug dealers who sell fatal doses of synthetic drugs.
Purdue is the one that produced OxyContin and hydrocodone and all the derivatives. In my mind, they're drug dealers.
Cindy has even helped educate workers at the state attorney's office about the dangers of drugs.
These people that know everyone on the street take care of each other. And when they see somebody overdosing, they turn them on their side, they do the Narcan. Some mom out there has their kid another day. And then with another day is hope. And I guess my message would be, I was ignorant once, I'm not ignorant anymore. So it's ignorance that would keep it out of certain areas, or people that have voted for you influencing you. But get on the street level, meet these people, hear their stories. You're going to know why they're here and how it's a very hard life, and they still have dignity and they still deserve our help.
Next episode, we'll follow the worst-case scenario, a fatal overdose, to the medical examiner's office, where toxicology is performed and cause of death is determined.